we're back. All right, Dave. Let's get into the top gaming news of last week. Let's start with our lead story. We're still dealing with the fallout from Activision Blizzard. This story will not go away.
Oh,
this is still a big deal because
it has just begun.
Because now it's hitting Activision Blizzard where it hurts, and that's probably the only way change will come. Is when you hit the company in the pocket. Listen, companies, corporations only worry about their bottom line, right? A scandal hits when they're still making money. It doesn't matter. They try to sweep it under the rug. But when you hit them where it hurts, which is the bottom line, and shareholders and board of directors get involved, that's when change happens. And maybe this is a good thing because it looks like Activision Blizzard has lost T-Mobile as a sponsor for the Overwatch and Call of Duty esports leagues, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Coca-Cola and State Farm are reassessing their partnership and could pull their Overwatch League sponsorships.
Oh,
right?
Of course. They will.
Millions of dollars.
Yeah. Well, you don't want to be associated with all of this, right? In any way, shape, or form. So, I mean, no duh, right? You're going to, and they're the ones that are paying for the sponsorship money, right? They're the ones that are paying to have their Coca-Cola logo in the background, right? When you have your StarCraft tournaments or your Overwatch tournaments or whatever, right? So it's a no-brainer for them. Okay, let's do a money buy in a different market, right? Let's do a different esports league, right? Let's do League of Legends. Or let's do Fortnite or whatever, right? Let's attach ourselves to a company that doesn't have a scandal on its hands, right? I mean, like that's what you do. That's what you do in that case. I suspect that Coca-Cola is gonna be pulling out because I don't see this getting any better, right? Like
this sucks. I mean, listen, I'll be honest. Like it's a good thing and a bad thing. I mean, it's a good thing because when you hit corporations in the pocket, that's when you create change, right? However, it's a bad thing because, just for the gaming landscape, Overwatch, the Overwatch League, right? I mean, 50 Cent owns like an Overwatch team.
Sure.
Right?
Sure. And Bobby Kraft, owner of the
Robert Kraft of the Patriots.
Yeah, he owns the league too. Yeah.
Yeah. This sucks when we're trying to put gaming sort of in the mainstream stratosphere, and something like this happens. I would love for Robert Kraft to step in and and be the head of Activision Blizzard, right? Because he's an awesome owner, right? Just ask Tom Brady.
I mean, I mean, he's definitely a good businessman who doesn't have any of this terrible baggage that kind of the head of Activision Blizzard has, or the everybody in Activision Blizzard, everyone the higher ups.
You can get rid of all the executives, right, and the HR people, but you have to want to change the culture. You have to put in the right people in place that can, change the culture, make it better, make it more inclusive, right, and obviously pay, people what they're worth. And now that the company is losing money or potentially could be losing money on this, this could be them reassessing and reevaluating how to do business going forward, right?
Right. So, well, I mean, in terms of some of the leadership, right? Because you're right, you do need to cut off the problematic people, right? One of the executives, Frances Townsend, she used to be part of the Bush administration, part of Homeland Security and whatnot. So that if that says anything about her past or whatever, she was hired to Activision Blizzard, and she was the one who sent out some memos, right? I believe she sent out an internal memo and then also like a public memo about this whole situation. And that was not received well. She has stepped down. She hasn't gotten fired. She ended up stepping down from her position, which makes sense because, she's doing all the wrong things to try and put the fires out, right? As opposed to try and okay, we know there's a problem. Let's go ahead and try and fix it. So I don't think she was on the good side of things. So she's no longer there. There's two guys that are taking the replacement of J. Allen Brack as the head of Blizzard. So it'll be kind of like a co-position. Hopefully they can make some change. I think they were promoted up from within the company. I don't think they have any scandals or anything, so we'll kind of see how that goes. But One other thing that I wanted to bring up about this is the head of Activision Blizzard is Bobby Kotick. And I was listening to some podcast. I think it may have been the Linus Tech Tips podcast or whatever, Linus Media Group podcast. And they were talking about Bobby Kotick and one of his previous ventures. And he entered into a partnership with Andrew Gordon, head of Goldman Sachs, and they had this thing called Cove Management, which was managing a private Gulfstream 3 jet, whatever that means. And apparently,
jets just like buildings, right? Like you have a management for the building, right? I mean,
yeah,
you own a condo, you got a condo,
you got to keep it up, you got to
stuff, right? Same thing with the jets, right?
Maintenance and all that, yeah. Okay. Yeah, so that makes sense. But they basically they hired this lady, Cynthia Madvig. She's a former actress, and she was the flight attendant for the plane. Apparently, what went down is the pilot of the plane sexually harassed her. She bubbled it up.
She accused the pilot of sexual harassment.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
And
then promptly got fired.
Shortly after it got let
Kotick fired her, right? Which is a pretty heavy coincidence.
That's a bad look.
It's a pretty damn bad look. Long story short, out of all of this, they settled for $200,000. Kotick's law firm advised him to settle. He eventually kowtowed and settled in September 2007 for $200,000. So that's not a good look. When you have this and then also you're the head of Activision Blizzard where all this stuff goes down. I'm not accusing him of partaking in any of this stuff or whatever. But when you're running the company and this stuff's going on in your company, like I wouldn't expect him to know like the day to day and whatnot, but you eventually have to know. You eventually have to know there's some shit going down at your company when it gets this big.
When you're a CEO of a big company, a huge company like Activision Blizzard, or when you're CEO of the boss of anything, it's hard pressed to know some of the things that are going on. I mean, that's why you hire low level executives. That's why you hire HR to handle these things. Now, if they don't handle these things properly, and
that's what happened. That's what happened.
That's when you are alerted, and you have to take the proper measures to step in and change everything that's going on. Now, I'm looking at Bobby from this point forward, right? Because you can't say you don't know this is going on anymore.
Well, I mean, you could only
these are lawsuits. It's brought to your attention. Now, what do you do as a leader? What do you do? Right?
Well, they should have handled it internally, and they should have stopped it ahead of time. Like I
don't blame. Again, you say they. I'm talking about him. He wouldn't know about this. He's a CEO. When you're a CEO, you don't know about things like these.
Well,
about this because you have HR. I know from experience of working for a big company, the guys at the top don't know some of the things that are happening lower level.
But he has to know what J. Allen Brack, the head of Blizzard, is doing, right? Because he was part of it, right? That was the head of Blizzard, right? That's half of Activision Blizzard. He would have to know what he's doing. I would say that.
Who's telling him though? Right?
Well, he's hanging out with them. He's at the conventions. He's in meetings with them all the time.
Just because he's hanging out doesn't mean he sees what's going on. I'm saying from this point forward, what are you doing? What are you doing at this point forward, right? Like you can't say you don't know. So are you putting the proper people in the positions that they need to be in? Are you paying people properly? Are you changing the culture? Are you making the right moves to move forward as a reputable company? Like now, I'm looking at him because everything that happens next is a reflection of his decision making, right? So
he tried to push it down to, Francis Townsend. He tried to push it down to Brack and all the other people, and they're all slowly going away. So I don't think this is going to be the end of, the kind of clean sweep in this case. Like, do I want the company to get better? 100%. But I don't think it's going to work with Kotick involved. That's my take. That's my take.
I do.
I think they got to get somebody new in there.
Because when you're CEO, you don't know the things that are going on lower level. You're worried about making the company money. That's what you're worried about.
Well, but
Now
he's in
that
hot
you've been
water
brought-
now. You know,
now,
he's
now,
in the
I don't
hot
think-
seat.
I'll be
He's
honest,
the guy.
I don't think he's in a hot seat. I think all the attention is on him now to see what decisions he's going to do to make things right. But I don't think he's in a hot seat, to be honest. You know,
Yeah.
you're a bit. Well, to be honest, I mean, when you're a big CEO, right? When you're running the company, first of all, if something would happen to him, he could, you know, everything dies down a year or two from now. Nobody's, you know, when people forget about this, and just like you said last week, they move on to new CEO jobs and perpetuate the same culture in the next company, right?
Well, no, I mean 100%, but at least Activision Blizzard with their like board of directors or whatever, right? They can come together and make the right move and say, "Hey,
well, then if that's the case,
we need
let me
you
ask
out.
you this.
We need you
then,
out."
Then let me ask you this: if that's the case, if the CEO is supposed to know about it, why didn't the board of directors know about it? They're the ones who put in the executives. By the way,
Well, I'm not saying they didn't know about it. I don't know if they did.
The board
I
of
don't know if they
directors
did.
are the ones who appoint the officers. Okay, so they appointed him as CEO, as they appointed probably the president of HR, who's supposed to know and handle.
Oh, well, I mean, I think everyone's complicit in a way,
okay,
right? I think everyone's complicit in a way. I'm not.
Get rid of the board of directors. My point is, now that it's been brought to your attention, right? And usually it's a scandal because it's being brought out into the public, which notifies the people who are at the head of the company who don't deal with the day-to-day things like this. Mm-hmm. So what do you do now? What do you do now? That is now why Activision Blizzard is on the clock, right?
Well, okay, fair. So base level. Here's what I think they need to do. At a base level. You need to pay your employees fairly. You need to give them a fair wage, men or women. I'm not even talking about race, creed, gender, or whatever. Just pay them fairly because they are working hard to build your damn products to make you money for your company, right? Treat your employees fairly, right? That's just straight up across the board. You need to have company-wide training seminars, right? And it sounds stupid, but you need to do it because everybody's gone through the harassment training and all that. Everybody laughs at the videos. Who would do this? Well, here's a company that did it, right? So everybody who's still there, you know, I don't know if they're going to get canned or whatever, or this and that, people that were problematic, but you got to have them go through training, right? And then you got to change the culture from the top down. Kotick needs to get involved and he needs to be aware and he needs to say, hey, everything we did before, not going to happen anymore. These we're going to put locks on the damn breastfeeding doors, right? We're not going to do cube crawls. We're not going to have a Cosby room. You know, that's not this company anymore, right? You do that, and then you hire the right people in management, and then it comes from the top down, right? And you can have whatever business strategy you want because how you run a business is how you run a business. It's perfectly fine, but you know, you have to treat your employees fair. I would say that at a bare minimum. You do that, and then you take steps to try and remedy the problem, then, you know, you can start to have a regular company again. And then you start pulling yourself out of the hot water. I'll say that. If Kotick's still going to be there and whatnot, like that's what you do.
All right. So I agree with all of that. Mm-hmm. And I got to add a little caveat.
Sure.
Okay. If T-Mobile, Coca-Cola, and State Farm wants to, pull their sponsorship and sponsor Rated G for gamers, I'm all for it too. That works for me.
100%. 100%. We will gladly brand all our videos.
I love Coca-Cola. I'm more of an AT&T guy, but I can be persuaded to come to T-Mobile.
Listen, man, T-Mobile's got good service, all right, and Diet Coke is legit, man. Mm-hmm.